Alright, what's going on everybody? Anime Ramble back with another episode. Today we will be discussing Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 3. If you remember where we left off with the last chapter, again, Boruto returned to the village, Boruto challenged Code and Boruto began to fight, and at the end of the last chapter, Boruto unveiled his new Rasengan, the Rasengan Uzehiko, and with the end of the last chapter, we learned nothing about that particular jutsu, right? So it came with a lot of questions. What was the particular chakra makeup of this jutsu? What chakras did he infuse into this particular Rasengan that he may have not have infused in the previous Rasengans that he have, right? Because we know his lightning Rasengan, he infuses lightning nature chakra, it turns it invisible, and he throws it, right? It's a ranged attack. In theory, he could either have equipped it wind nature, lightning, or water nature. We know he has those three at his disposal, and any combination of the two, if not a combination of all three, could have resulted in the Rasengan Uzehiko, because once you finally see it be used this chapter, it just brings up a slew of questions that come along with it, right? The Rasengan Uzehiko works, at least from what it is that I'm seeing, is that the Rasengan is emerged. The Rasengan doesn't form in the hand, but it's there in the hand because he still struck Code with his palm like a normal Rasengan, and it actually blew him back a significant distance. It really didn't blow him back that much, which is kind of odd to see considering when they tell you how the Rasengan Uzehiko works. It's kind of like, all right, well, that just can't be the case, right? It has to be a little bit more than that, especially if you're using the rotation of the planet. The planet spins kind of fast. Especially if we're talking about something like the Earth. I mean, the Earth rotates at about 1,000 miles per hour. If you got hit with something that was traveling at 1,000 miles per hour, I mean, that'd send you well beyond the boundaries of the Land of Fire. That wasn't the case here for Code. He seemed to take the hit very well. Boruto even mentions that, oh, hey, you're still standing? I'm surprised because, yeah, if you're using something that has the rotation, force, or power, or speed of a planet that travels 1,000 miles per hour, I'd imagine you wouldn't be standing from the initial hit. But when you watch what actually happens, Code catches one of Boruto's punches that he was throwing, and just within that contact, the Rasengan Uzehiko begins to swirl around Code. But within that, it doesn't stop swirling around Boruto. So when Code initially makes contact with Boruto, the Rasengan Uzehiko triggers, it swirls around him, but it doesn't do much. Then Boruto has to take another step and actually make contact with Code after the initial swirls around him. So, what novel was it? I believe it was Itachi's light novel. No. It was the Akatsuki stories, if I'm not mistaken. Itachi and Kizame have a mission where they have to go to the Land of Mist and they fight two brothers. They were beekeepers and they used their bees to take on missions, right? And they had one move that a bee initially stings you, nothing happens, but upon the second sting, you die instantly. And Kizame had got tagged with one of the bees, so it was one of those situations that Itachi and Kizame could not afford to not pursue these two individuals, so they had to go and pursue the two bee brothers. They killed the bee brothers. It was a good read. If you like it, go and check it out. It was on the Akatsuki stories if it was ever translated to English. If not, I'm sure you can find it online. But that reminded me of this situation here. The initial attack just triggered the actual jutsu to begin. The second hit is what actually sent the jutsu to Code. That was pretty much it, so to speak, because after that, Boruto didn't really have to do much. He just had to evade Code for the duration that the Uzehiko was going to continue, and it was going to continue until he died. And actually, you had this very dope line of dialogue from Boruto in which he's monologuing to Code, and he was like, yeah, the damage is only semi-permanent. I say semi because you'll die before the earth stops spinning. I was like, god damn, Boruto, what happened to you out in the field? Like, what happened to you? Right, this is giving me Deku vibes after he gets kicked out of UA and just goes on this, Batman-like tear through the city, rounding up all these villains and just shunning everybody around him. But it takes me to the second part or the third part, I should say, of Rasengan Uzehiko, where it never stops swirling around Boruto. And Code mentions that this isn't just simply dodging that Boruto is doing. He's like, in a sense, dancing around this man, like floating on a current that's pulling him and allowing him to pivot and move around Code to such a degree that there's nothing that he could do. And it's remarked on by him, and like, I'm sitting there reading the chapter, I'm like, okay, so who taught him all of this? And of course, Kashin Koji comes to mind, because also in this chapter we see Boruto with toads. And he has a toad in his collar. There's a toad on code that I'm sure he put there during the battle. And so the situation becomes real questioning. Like, alright, where is Sasuke? And if not Sasuke, who taught him all this? Because who could have taught him the summoning jutsus? Everybody who knows the toad summonings isn't available to him. It's Naruto and it's Konohamaru that we know of. And Kashin Koji. But Kashin Koji is an android. So again, did he find Boruto? Did Kashin Koji find Boruto? Did Kashin Koji find Sasuke? And even then, with Kashin Koji being like this android of Jiraiya, that's made up of Jiraiya's like cells and of his essence, his memories and stuff like that, he has no memory of Boruto. Other than the fact that he looks exactly like Naruto, there is no connection there to him. So it's interesting. He's coming back with like legit 3 S-rank jutsus under his belt, and under no circumstances, I'm sure Kishimoto's going to get to it eventually. He might have gotten to it in chapter 6 or something like that. But my God, you guys, like, look, he knows the Flying Raijin. Who taught him that? Because no one else alive knows that jutsu. The summoning jutsu, fine, but who taught him that? Because nobody who knows that jutsu is currently available to him, unless it was Kashin Koji. But then you have the question, okay, well, how and when did he run into Kashin Koji? And for what reason would he have to ever actually care enough to teach Boruto this just so he can survive? And then there's this whole Rasengan Uzihiko. Okay, who taught him the Rasengan? He doesn't really need to be taught the Rasengan Uzihiko. He just needs to develop it on his own. But how do you go about developing this, right? We needed something to go on as it pertained to the chakra makeup of the Rasengan Uzihiko and who was teaching him all of this. Because even if he was with Sasuke, he can't teach him any of this. He can't. Not the Flying Raijin, not the Toad summoning, not the Rasengan Uzihiko, nothing. And just as you think things can't get any more complicated, I mentioned it a little bit previously, but the second hit of the Rasengan Uzihiko was really what did Code in. And with it being semi-permanent and incorporating the rotation of the planet, it's a continuous jutsu that won't allow Code to regain his footing. Meaning every time after a certain duration, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long it is, he will start to experience this vertigo-like effect where everything will begin to spin and he'll just essentially topple over. Right? It doesn't seem like it's doing too much damage. It just throws off his balance, or maybe something is going on underneath or behind the scenes and we're just not able to see it because they're not actually, they're saying a lot of stuff in these chapters, but they're not actually explaining too much. They're just giving us vague shit to go off of, like how when they flash to Ida and Damon so that we can get a little bit more exposition, because that's what they're there for. They're not doing anything. Damon's like, oh yeah, he just unleashed this ground trembling attack, or should I say earth trembling attack. It's an attack that incorporates the planetary spin to incorporate into the jutsu. And again, the earth rotates, spins at 1,000 miles per hour. And I'm sorry, I just feel like this initial hit should have done so much more damage. Or after the initial hit, Code spins at 1,000 miles per hour. Either way, it should be a little bit more problematic than what it is. And if that wasn't confusing enough, not necessarily confusing, it's just kind of like, alright, well, you're telling us a lot of stuff, but it just makes shit more complicated when the attacks that are being used are invisible. You have Boruto, after Damon said what he said about how the jutsu incorporates the planetary spin, you have Boruto that comes out after that and says it's a Rasengan that incorporates the planet's chakra. Well, that could be interpreted as he's using Sage Chakra. So he has the S-rank Flying Raijin, the S-rank Rasengan, multiple variants of that. He has the S-rank summoning jutsu, assuming those are his, because we never see him actually summon the toads. It could have been possible that Kashin Koji summoned 2 toads and gave them to Boruto for this very specific plan. That is another possibility. It is possible he doesn't know the summoning jutsu at all. But the potential of him knowing Sage Mode would be something that I would actually look forward to. Believe it or not, I really do wish that Naruto knew Sage Mode when he was younger, or at least started practicing it when he was younger. Doesn't seem, you teach him the summoning jutsu, but you don't talk to him about Sage Mode and stuff like that, considering how much chakra he does have at his disposal. That was like one of my pet peeves. Jiraiya never actually told or said anything to Naruto about Sage Mode at all. It had to be the Elder Toads that got him into it, but I'm rambling at this point. There is a possibility that Boruto, does know Sage Mode, and again, damn, y'all, like 3 years. I know he's the son of Naruto. I know he has the Hyuga blood in him, but like, I mean, show us at least some of his training. At least to a degree. I know in the future we'll probably get like some flashbacks about his training. I mean, at this point it doesn't really matter. We have a 3-year time jump. We'll see flashbacks of him training with somebody in the past, maybe Sasuke, maybe Kashin Koji, maybe he found some elder monk guru on a fucking hill. I have absolutely no idea. What I do know is that during all of this conversation, after Code fell over about 2 times, Kawaki comes out of nowhere and tries to just take them both out. Right? Code ends up trying to escape. Kawaki destroys the claw marks, and now Boruto and Kawaki are meeting up after 3 years of not seeing each other. He's seeing not just Kawaki for the first time, but he's also seeing Shikadai and all, like, well, some other of the Konoha 12 that are currently there. And Kawaki, he's just being very bold, very abrasive. He was like, if you come back, then you must be prepared to die. And then Boruto's like, maybe someday in Konoha, but not today. Flashing forward to when they're fighting on top of the stone statues. And the whole village is destroyed, obviously. You can just see the animosity. Kawaki is really dedicated to this destroying Boruto. And he doesn't have a problem with Boruto. He has a problem with Momoshiki. I'm sure if Boruto popped up and was like, yeah, Momoshiki's not inside me anymore. I destroyed him. He was removed, yada, yada, yada. And Kawaki no longer sensed the presence of Momoshiki, then I'm sure he wouldn't have an issue with allowing Boruto to live. Maybe the rest of the village would, because of what Ida did and everybody thinking that Boruto is the outsider and Boruto killed Naruto and Hinata, who were the parents of Kawaki, because that whole timeline, plot line is still going on. But that just wasn't the case. So now they're going back and forth. Code's just sitting there on the ground. He doesn't know what to do. Kawaki's talking about killing Code right then and there, and of course he's getting the go-ahead from Shikamaru and Shikadai, yeah, let's just make this done so we can be done with this chapter and move on. But just in that moment, because Code is decked out in claw marks, I mean, Kawaki didn't destroy the claw marks on Code's physical body. So on his physical body, he has a claw mark right there in the center of his forehead that Kawaki can see with his all-powerful eyes, but he doesn't destroy that. A claw grime comes through that claw mark that's on Code's face, attacks Kawaki. Kawaki reacts beautifully to it, but he wraps a claw mark around that claw grime and escapes back to the dimension where the Ten Tails is being stored. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about how Boruto has 2 toads, one that's on him and one that's on Code that he placed there during the fight. Now that Code has traveled to the dimension with the claw grimes, the toad is there reporting back to the toad that's on Boruto, and was like, yeah, I'm here, I have eyes on the Ten Tails, it's all here. We also see our boy Bug, he's sitting there trapped in a tree, and what I can only assume is going to be a reverse summoning situation where the toad that's with Code is going to reverse summon Boruto into that dimension. And I mean, I just don't know what happens after that, right? It's going to be a fight. Clearly he's going to have the Ten Tails in his grasp, but I mean, if you're going to tell me that Boruto right now is strong enough to take on the Ten Tails, the Ten Tails is just a bitch. Let's just get that clear, real clear. This Ten Tails is a bitch. He wouldn't have pulled up on the 4th grade Shinobi War Ten Tails. That's not what would have happened at all. But this Ten Tails just doesn't seem to have the same spunk, the same oomph as that Ten Tails did, and it's kind of disappointing because it's just there. The little claw grimes that are made from the Ten Tails, they bitches. This Ten Tails, it's pinned down. It's a bitch. It's just watered down. I'm sorry. Like, that's how it's interesting. Don't get me wrong. This chapter was very interesting. I like the development that we got from Boruto. I like that, you know, the spunk that the kid has is just melting away, and that he's being more grounded in what reality really is. But it doesn't change the fact that so many questions have arose, and just the display of power just doesn't seem to, it's just not holding weight for me, right? The claw grimes are disappointing. Boruto, where did he learn all this shit from? Does he know Sage Mode? Flying Raijin? I mean, like, my God, ladies and gentlemen. And what did happen to Momoshiki? We actually haven't seen Momoshiki pop up once. I'm enjoying this read as I go through, and we're going to see what's happening with Chapter 4. But I think I've rambled on long enough. If you made it to the end, thank you. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button. Let me know you're rocking with the content that I put out on the channel. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Comment on the video your thoughts about what you think is going on. Again, what is the actual makeup of the Rasengan Uzuhiko? Where did he learn all these jutsus from? Is he going to reverse summon to the Ten Tails? And do you think he's actually going to be able to deal with the Ten Tails once he is there? Code is still a disappointment. And you remember what I said in Chapter 1 where I said he looks like he's dressed for the Phantom of the Opera? They're using, this is a Japanese manga using like UK slang. I mean, you just have, and maybe this is a translator issue. Maybe it's the translator's fault, but like, you got code here calling Boruto a cheeky bastard. Who the fuck are you to where you're using that type of vernacular? A cheeky bastard. I don't know how I feel about that dialogue. Again, this might just be a translator issue. The translators all in America are under heat after they found out Japan is potentially using AI to translate shit from now on, because they just can't trust Americans to just make a heartfelt good translation from Japanese to English. And it's showing time and time again. I got on Kawaki about his clothes. Sarada, I don't know. Kishimoto's just not good with just drawing post time skip haircuts. Sarada doesn't look. She doesn't. I liked her first design better. She just looks something. I just don't know. But I've rambled on long enough. Like the video if you like the video. I've already given you the outro. Subscribe if you're brand new, and like always, until next time, I'm out.